Crystal lover, in this video, I'm talking a little bit about watermelon tourmaline, which is a beautiful variety of tourmaline that has a green exterior and phenomenal. So let's go ahead and dig into this crystal for comfort and tranquility. This is one of my favorite stones. It has been for such a long time. The first time I saw it, I was really taken with it. It is just a stunning crystal. And it's always felt like the perfect representation of the heart, of heart energy. It is something that embodies the qualities of love and connection that we associate with the heart. And I think it helps us get into more flow and alignment with that energy of love. So if you listen to my crystal healing podcast, or you've watched my videos before, or read my articles about the healing properties of stones, you know that I always like to create an affirmation that's a good representation of the crystal. So here's the affirmation that has come through for watermelon tourmaline. I allow myself to be in flow with the energy of love, and I center love in the ways in which I show up in the world. So this is all about letting love take the lead in our lives. Lots of different forms of love, lots of ways to show love, to give and receive love. But watermelon tourmaline is associated with a lot more than this. We're going to circle back to this idea of getting in flow with love with a little watermelon tourmaline ritual. But this crystal also helps kind of balance and align the energy of your body, mind, and spirit. It encourages you to care for yourself as well as to care for your community. Self-care is important, but community care is equally as important. This is a great reminder of that. So working with the stone kind of gets us in that space. It also instills a desire to act from a place of love and compassion. And it promotes a lot of nurturing, connection with others, which facilitates this whole concept of love and creating more love. It also enhances those feelings of love, not just for others, but for ourselves. So if you do need to focus on that self-love, self-forgiveness, it promotes peace and calm and tranquility. I think largely because when we're operating out of that space of love, of nurturing, of connection, we feel calm because this is kind of what we are designed to do. This is how we're meant to operate. We're meant to collectively care for one another, to support one another, to be there and hold one another in love. And so when we're actually living in that space authentically, we feel really calm and at ease. It also encourages a lot of gentleness to kind of go along with that nurturing, and instills joy. So getting you just in that space in your heart really helps you feel a lot of joy, helps you feel a lot of gratitude. So that's another thing that's great about this crystal. And this idea of comfort, providing comfort, or maybe better said, it provides a lot of support and a feeling of being held, especially during difficult times. It's a great touchstone for that. And I think the other thing it really does is it helps facilitate this sort of awareness of whether or not your actions are in alignment with creating the life that you desire. So if you sort of think about everything that you wish your life was, and I don't mean things you wish you had or something like that. We're not talking about manifesting. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about if you really think about what it is like, what you picture your life being like, picture the way that you want to feel in your life, picture the way that you want to show up and be of service, support others, care for people, the person that you want to be, the values that you want to embody. If you think about that sort of stuff, working with watermelon tourmaline helps facilitate this awareness of whether or not your actions are in alignment with that vision that you have for yourself. Because we're not perfect. We are human. We're not always going to be 100% in alignment with that. But it's a good reminder for us to sort of course correct when we feel ourselves stepping outside of that, if that makes sense. The other thing that I think this crystal is sort of known for is providing a lot of emotional support and comfort for people who are healing from the effects of toxic relationships in their life, whether that's friendships, family, romantic partnerships, whatever it might be. This crystal is so interesting because it has these distinct patterns of color zoning that form in concentric circles. So if you have a watermelon tourmaline crystal, it could be long and skinny, and it'll sort of appear green from the outside. If you hold it up to the light, you may be able to see through that green that it has more of a pink core. Now, the green and the pink both can range from really pale color, kind of washed out, to very, very vibrant and intense color. And so when you have that long crystal with that pink core and that green exterior, when it is then sliced, which is often how this crystal is presented, you will actually be able to see those concentric rings or circles. And this is just so different than the way most other crystals form. And I think one thing that's important to note here is that the name Watermelon Tourmaline really is meant to apply just to the tourmaline that exhibits the pink and green colors with those concentric circles. So there's a lot of times I see the name Watermelon Tourmaline being applied to crystals that really should be more called bicolor tourmaline, meaning it has two colors, and usually that would be at either end of one of those long crystals. So it might be pink on this side, green on this side. That's a bicolor tourmaline, two-color tourmaline. But when we get the concentric circles, that's when it's watermelon, because when you slice it, it looks like a slice of watermelon. It is the coolest thing. So a great companion crystal for working with watermelon tourmaline is Lepidolite, another stone for sort of facilitating that calming energy, that present moment awareness. This crystal, I think, aligns really well for those whose zodiac sign is Taurus, Pisces, Cancer, or Virgo, just based on a lot of these qualities and the energy that it has. I think that there are certain phases of the moon that are also connected with different crystals. And for watermelon tourmaline, I feel like it's that area just before the full moon, including the full moon, and just after. So the waxing gibbous, the full moon, and the waning gibbous. That's kind of the time when this watermelon tourmaline really shines. And I feel like it's because when we're living in that energy of love and feeling that sort of embodied love, we feel so full, right? Just like that period of the lunar cycle. If you're wanting to combine your crystal work with some flowers, with an essential oil, I love for a flower companion pink cosmos. And this could be the soft blush pink or the really vibrant intense pink, but there's something about how soft and fluid those cosmos flowers are when they're sort of out dancing in the wind that always makes me think of watermelon tourmaline. It's a great association. And then for the essential oil, I love the idea of rose geranium, that great heart opener. It's a little bit brighter than a true rose. So rose geranium is like the rose scented geranium. It's a little brighter and it has these sort of notes of citrus that come through that I think because of that, the way it's so vibrant, it just gets you fully immersed in that energy of love, which I really like. So this stone, interestingly, was first named by someone in Maine, and I have a resource for you about that in just a moment. But you can also find it in Brazil and in Namibia, and beautiful pieces come from all three of these locations. So it doesn't matter sort of, where it's coming from, it will carry these same energetic qualities, these same properties, but we might experience that energy a little bit different depending on where the stone has come from, because it will have, a unique story, unique formation process, all of that stuff. So I wanted to share a little bit about this source of the name, and I didn't know this until I was researching for writing the article for Watermelon Tourmaline that'll come out later this week over on the website at loveandlightschool.com. So according to mindat.org, which is my favorite resource for great information about crystals, the name, and this is a quote from Mindat, the name was coined by George Robley Howe, who lived from 1860 to 1950 in Norway, Maine, in the United States. It says the name was first used in a Lewiston, Maine newspaper account in 1910 when describing specimens from the Harvey Quarry in Poland, Maine. So I thought that was really interesting that this specific name is relatively recent, only, about a little over 100 years old, which is really pretty cool. And this gentleman, George Robley Howe, saw the similarity between this tourmaline and, the beautiful watermelon fruit and made that association. And it's such a perfect description for what this crystal looks like. So I want to leave you with a practical way to work with this stone. And this is something that's a little bit different than what you might be used to. You will need a little slice of watermelon tourmaline, or if you have a tumbled stone that's thin enough that you can sort of see the color zoning through it, that will work too. But basically, it's gazing through the stone to center that feeling of love in your actions, in the way that you show up in the world. It acts as this lens to give us a point of focus, so that we can sort of see things from a new perspective, so that love can be at the center of how we engage with others, how we show up and interact with the world around us. So make yourself comfortable, hold your slice of your watermelon tourmaline in your hands, and you can close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and just sort of get as present as you can be. You might want to bring that stone up over your heart to really get in your heart space. And then visualize sending love from your heart into that stone, sort of charging it up with love. So think about someone that you love, really, really deeply. Think about a place that you love, a pet, something that really gets you in that embodied place of love. And it might be helpful to, at this next point, to grab a piece of pen and a paper and write this down, but I want you to set an intention for how you can make love really central to the way that you show up in the world. And so, think about, how can you give and receive more love? How can you root into love when things feel really challenging? And how can you rely on love to support yourself, to support others, to show up for yourself and show up for others in bigger ways? This is really, I think, the most important thing. How can you root love into your sense of community, into your sense of place? Excuse me. And when you feel ready and you've kind of sent that energy in, you've thought about this affirmation, you can hold the watermelon tourmaline slice up to one of your eyes and open your eyes and sort of gaze through that central core of the crystal, that pink core of the crystal, to shift your perspective and move you into more alignment with love. Then you'll just close your eyes again when you feel ready. Bring your stone back down to your heart, or just hold it in your lap, whatever's most comfortable, and ask that crystal be a touchstone to help you act with love. It should be kind of a talisman or a reminder or a physical support, something to physically remind you that you can root into that power of love in your everyday actions. The big actions, the small actions, it doesn't matter, but just bringing love to the way that you show up in the world. So you can repeat that exercise with the visualization and the sort of intention and holding space for that as often as you like, but then carrying that stone with you, having that physical reminder, that tangible reminder is really kind of at the core of how this can all work. Now, also on the blog this week, over at loveandlightschool.com, I will be sharing some important tips and tricks for how to spot fake watermelon tourmaline. So there will be more videos later to come this week about how to spot some of those watermelon tourmaline fakes. These are snippets from my full How to Tell Crystal Fakes course series. It's a huge amount of information about how to spot fake crystals, but I will be highlighting watermelon tourmaline in this week's blog post and sharing a few more videos over on YouTube and social media to help you learn what to look for. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel or that you're following me on Facebook or Instagram to get all the details about spotting those crystal fakes when those come out later this week. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until I see you again, many crystal blessings.